For over a century, foreign rulers known as the Hyksos controlled northern Egypt, quietly reshaping its cities, its armies, and even its gods. But in the southern city of Thebes, a young pharaoh named Ahmose was preparing to change everything. What happened when this forgotten prince finally rose, and why did his quiet war against the Hyksos mark the beginning of Egypt's greatest age? This is the story of a battle fought not only with chariots and sieges, but with memory, patience, and purpose. A battle that didn't just end an occupation, it redefined a civilization. Welcome to the war that changed Egypt forever. This is Drift Off 2, where we bring calm stories for curious minds. Chapter 1: Egypt in Decline, the Second Intermediate Period. Long ago, beneath endless skies gently painted with hues of twilight, the Nile River drifted calmly, whispering through a land of faded grandeur. Egypt, once an empire united under divine rulers, had softly splintered into quiet fragments, slipping into what history would come to call the Second Intermediate Period. The towering pyramids stood as silent sentinels, their ancient stones gently murmuring forgotten tales of glory, now lost in the sands of time. Slowly and quietly, the proud lineage of pharaohs gave way to a patchwork of smaller kingdoms, each ruler holding on to power with gentle desperation. In the northern delta, a foreign people had softly settled, the Hyksos. From distant deserts and trade routes, these newcomers integrated themselves, creating a bustling capital at Avaris. The city was alive with exotic aromas, foreign dialects, and vibrant marketplaces, yet it always remained subtly alien, quietly reminding Egyptians of their fractured unity. To the south, beneath serene skies, the city of Thebes endured in quiet dignity. Its rulers maintained sacred traditions, gently upholding Mahat, the cosmic harmony and balance that had defined Egypt's soul for millennia. Yet their power was delicate, and they sent tribute north to Avaris, not out of loyalty, but to avoid conflict. It was a time of survival, of waiting, of watching. And time did pass, slowly, softly. On a quiet moonlit night by the banks of the Nile, a child named Ahmose was born into the Theban royal family. His arrival was humble, barely noticed beyond the palace walls, yet in his small heartbeat, history stirred. His name, the moon is born, carried the weight of quiet promise. In the villages, life moved with the same rhythm as the river. Farmers guided their ploughs through the rich black earth, the Kemet, watching the skies for the blessings of the inundation. Children laughed and ran along the reed-lined banks, unaware that the land around them sat under the shadow of division. In temples, priests lit incense in the name of forgotten gods, and in distant corners of the kingdom, elders told stories of the time when pharaohs ruled all of the two lands with divine clarity. Yet now, those lands were two in truth as well as name. The north spoke with an accent not born of the Nile. The Hyksos rulers claimed to be pharaohs too, but they were different. Their speech, their gods, their customs, they did not match the stories etched into temple walls. Still, they were not brutes. The Hyksos brought with them knowledge, the horse-drawn chariot, stronger bronze tools, the powerful composite bow. Their influence mingled with Egyptian ways, and though it was seen as foreign, it could not be ignored. Some Egyptians viewed them with curiosity, others with quiet resentment, but for many, there was only resignation. This was how things were now, but Thebes remembered. In that southern city of pillars and painted walls, the ancient spirit of Egypt waited in silence. The Theban kings, humble in title but proud in heart, kept alive the memory of unity. Their priests spoke the old tongue. Their scribes recorded the years of Hyksos rule, with cool precision, and their warriors, though few, trained quietly in the arts of battle. In this world of stillness, of suppressed dreams and unspoken hopes, Ahmose grew. He watched his father, Seqenenre-Tau, navigate a fragile peace. He listened to stories of ancestors long gone. He studied the stars, the tides, and the laws of Ma'at, learning not just how to rule, but how to wait. The wind whispered through the reeds, the river flowed, and across Egypt a soft ache lingered in the hearts of those who remembered what had been, and dreamed in silence of what could be again. Egypt was not dead, it was only sleeping, and far in Thebes the moon had risen. Chapter 2. Who were the Hyksos? In the soft amber glow of evening, beneath skies streaked with gentle shades of lavender and gold, the bustling streets of Avaris came alive. Here, amid fragrant market stalls, filled with spices, rich fabrics, and precious metals from distant lands, a foreign people had woven their lives deeply into the tapestry of Egypt's story. They were the Hyksos, a name quietly spoken, meaning simply rulers of foreign lands. But who truly were these enigmatic people who had quietly, gradually found their place within Egypt's ancient borders? Their story began far beyond the familiar sands and palm-lined banks of the Nile. Long ago, in the lands of Canaan and Western Asia, groups of merchants, shepherds, and nomads moved steadily, seeking fertile lands, safe harbors, and prosperous towns in which to settle. These quiet migrations were not invasions, nor were they marked by war drums or fierce battle cries. They were the slow drift of families, the gentle movement of cultures across desert sands, drawn irresistibly towards Egypt's wealth, abundance, and stability. Over time, these newcomers settled along the Nile Delta, quietly building their homes, establishing their markets, and adopting the life-giving rhythms of Egypt's seasonal floods. They brought with them new customs, unfamiliar gods, and languages that seemed melodic yet strange to Egyptian ears. Slowly, quietly, almost unnoticed, their presence grew. Villages became towns, towns became cities, and among these, Avaris rose as the heart of their quiet yet unmistakable strength. The Hyksos were practical and inventive. From the vast, rugged expanses of their homeland, they brought innovations never before seen along the banks of the Nile. The Egyptians watched, curious and wary, as these foreign rulers unveiled the horse-drawn chariot, an invention that transformed warfare forever. Sleek, swift, and powerful, these chariots glided across battlefields like silent shadows beneath the moon, effortlessly turning the tide of conflict in their favor. The Egyptians observed in silent awe and quiet unease. But the Hyksos brought more than weapons. Their settlements buzzed softly with commerce, their markets vibrant with the sounds of foreign tongues and the glimmer of exotic goods. They introduced stronger bronze tools, sturdy pottery, and farming techniques that enriched the already fertile Nile Delta. In temples, constructed alongside Egyptian shrines, gods from distant lands stood quietly beside ancient Egyptian deities in gentle coexistence. Yet, for all their quiet integration, the Hyksos remained distinctly separate. In the Egyptian heart, a quiet tension lingered. The Hyksos were rulers, yes, but foreign rulers. Egyptians could accept their presence, even benefit from their knowledge and wealth, but they could never truly embrace them. A delicate peace settled over Egypt, as fragile and uncertain as a lotus blossom floating gently upon the river's surface. In Thebes, far to the south, memories were long, and whispers spoke of times before foreign kings. The people of Upper Egypt watched from afar, quietly wary. They sent tribute north, bowed to Hyksos representatives and watched as their own power slowly diminished beneath this gentle occupation. They spoke quietly of ancient pride, of pharaohs who had ruled with divine authority, and of their deep longing for the restoration of order. Yet the Hyksos were not cruel conquerors. Rather, they were adaptive rulers, blending traditions, carefully adopting Egyptian hieroglyphs, absorbing customs, and even styling themselves as pharaohs. Their foreignness softened over generations. Children born in Avaris played beside Egyptian neighbors, shared festivals, and grew together beneath the same skies. But subtle boundaries remained, invisible yet deeply felt. To the Egyptians, the Hyksos embodied a quiet challenge, not just politically, but culturally. Their very presence questioned Egypt's identity, their foreign customs quietly shifting the familiar landscape. It was a gentle revolution, a slow reshaping of society, culture, and tradition, quietly felt, yet rarely spoken. Despite their peaceful rule, beneath the surface, tensions simmered gently. The Hyksos were different, their gods were different, their language carried rhythms unknown to Egyptian ears. And perhaps most of all, their claim to Egypt's sacred throne, reserved only for divine kings descended from the gods, was quietly unsettling. Yet life continued. People farmed their fields beneath warm, golden sunlight. Boats drifted lazily down the Nile, sails billowing softly in the gentle breeze. Priests chanted their hymns in ancient temples, and in both Avaris and Thebes, children laughed beneath skies vast and unchanging. But in the silence, beneath the tranquility, Egypt held its breath. The Hyksos had come quietly. They had ruled softly, carefully, even wisely. Yet they were and would forever remain outsiders. And Egypt, a land defined by continuity and cosmic order, quietly dreamed of a day when its soul would once again be whole. Thus, beneath the gentle flow of daily life, two worlds coexisted, separate yet intertwined. Two peoples shared the same sky, the same river, the same stars, yet quietly held onto different visions of the future. The time would come, softly and inevitably, when these two visions could no longer share the quiet night. But for now, beneath peaceful skies, Egypt slept quietly, dreaming of unity, waiting for dawn. Chapter 3. The Rise of Thutmose I. In the gentle glow of dawn, as soft rays of sunlight painted the ancient walls of Thebes in hues of gold and rose, a young prince quietly stirred awake. His name was Thutmose, meaning the moon is born, and though still young, his heart already carried the silent weight of destiny. Around him, the palace breathed softly with the quiet rhythms of daily life. Servants whispering through halls, priests murmuring prayers, and the comforting hum of distant markets awakening slowly beneath the rising sun. Thutmose had grown up in the shadow of quiet tension, aware yet sheltered from the fragile politics that bound Egypt's south to its foreign rulers in the north. His father, Akhenaten, ruled Thebes with wisdom and restraint, gently balancing quiet defiance with outward submission. Thutmose had learned early the value of patience and observation, qualities instilled softly by his mother, Queen Ahotep, whose quiet strength would leave an everlasting mark upon him. Yet beneath the calm of Thutmose's upbringing, there lay hidden currents of uncertainty and loss. His father, Akhenaten, harbored quietly defiant dreams, secretly yearning to reunify Egypt and reclaim the dignity of its ancient throne. These dreams would one day lead him into quiet yet fateful conflict with the Hyksos rulers, but Thutmose was still too young to grasp fully the profound nature of his father's ambitions. Then, as gently and inevitably as evening shadows lengthening upon palace walls, tragedy quietly befell the family. Sekenenre-Tau, courageous yet mortal, was lost, his body bearing the quiet yet brutal marks of battle, silent wounds that spoke volumes about the depth of Egypt's hidden pain. In the wake of this gentle, devastating loss, Ahmose's older brother, Thutmose, ascended the throne. Thutmose's heart burned more openly than his father's, driven by passion, urgency, and a desire to avenge his father's quiet sacrifice. Thutmose launched expeditions northward, swiftly and fiercely reclaiming towns that had gently slipped into Hyksos' hands. But his victories, though bravely won, were fleeting, like footprints softly erased by desert winds. The Delta remained firmly under Hyksos' rule, their capital, Avaris, still untouched, resilient beneath its foreign rulers. Thutmose, exhausted from his noble yet incomplete campaign, quietly succumbed to illness or injury. History softly keeps its silence, and Egypt's dream of reunification once again gently drifted into uncertainty. Thus, with quiet inevitability, young Ahmose became pharaoh, still youthful, inexperienced, yet quietly bearing the dreams, hopes, and heartbreaks of generations before him. He ascended to the throne with solemn dignity beneath moonlit skies, his mother's gentle guidance forever present, offering soft whispers of encouragement, wisdom, and strength. But Ahmose, while young, possessed a quiet determination unlike that of his predecessors. Where his father's gentle defiance and his brother's passionate urgency had faltered, Ahmose chose patience and steady preparation. He understood deeply and instinctively that time itself could be a powerful ally, and so, beneath the quiet calm of Theban life, he began slowly, softly rebuilding. He quietly observed the Hyksos from afar, learning their tactics, adopting their technologies, particularly their fearsome chariots and powerful bronze weapons. Under his gentle command, armies quietly trained, learning discipline, resilience, and unity. Craftsmen forged weapons beneath stars softly twinkling in silent approval. Boats, sleek and quiet upon the Nile's gentle current, were built to secure waterways that had quietly fallen into disuse. Throughout these slow years, Ahmose quietly matured into a true leader. He was gentle but firm, patient yet resolute, reflective yet decisive. His soft-spoken wisdom quietly inspired loyalty among those around him. Generals, priests, and common people alike sensed in Ahmose something quietly extraordinary, a pharaoh not just of earthly authority, but one destined to restore Ma'at, the sacred order, to Egypt's gentle shores. Meanwhile, life continued quietly along the Nile's banks. Farmers planted seeds beneath golden sunrises, children played amid reeds gently swaying in afternoon breezes, and priests chanted softly within temples, their quiet prayers ascending toward heavens, patiently listening. In this peaceful yet purposeful calm, Egypt waited, quietly, steadily, for Ahmose's time to come. And then, as softly and surely as the moon rises through darkened skies, Ahmose knew the moment had finally arrived. The gentle whispers of history, the quiet longing of his people, and the soft yet unyielding call of destiny had converged. Egypt's time of waiting had drawn quietly to an end. Beneath a serene sky, under the watchful gaze of gods ancient and patient, Ahmose raised his gaze northward. In his heart, he carried the dreams of ancestors, the quiet sacrifices of his father and brother, and the hopes of generations yet unborn. It was time to reclaim Egypt's quiet dignity, gently but decisively. It was time to unify the land beneath one sky, one throne, one pharaoh. It was time to restore balance, order, and harmony to the two lands. The moon, softly radiant, had risen fully. Ahmose, Pharaoh of Egypt, would quietly guide his people from gentle darkness toward the dawn of a new era. And as stars softly shimmered above the Nile, Egypt's heart stirred gently, knowing at last its dreams of unity were within reach. Chapter 4: The War for Liberation. Beneath serene skies painted softly with shades of twilight, Egypt quietly awoke to the gentle stirrings of change. Thutmose, now fully grown into both king and warrior, stood in quiet contemplation atop the ancient temple steps overlooking Thebes. The gentle breeze carried whispers of the coming dawn, mingling softly with incense from nearby shrines. It was a morning like countless others, yet this one held within it the quiet promise of transformation. Years of quiet preparation had culminated in this moment. Thutmose had patiently trained his soldiers, beneath the watchful eyes of seasoned generals, gently teaching them the arts of war, passed down from distant lands. The Hyksos themselves had unwittingly provided these lessons: chariots, bows, and bronze blades, tools Thutmose had carefully studied, replicated, and improved. His armies, disciplined yet quietly confident, now awaited his gentle command beneath the fading stars. With soft but unwavering resolve, Thutmose led his army northward. They moved slowly, purposefully, through quiet towns and peaceful villages, welcomed warmly by Egyptians who dreamed quietly of liberation. Each step forward was taken gently, thoughtfully, careful never to disturb the delicate balance that would soon tip quietly, yet decisively toward freedom. At each small victory, Thutmose offered soft gratitude to the gods, quietly affirming his role as both protector and restorer of Mahat. Soldiers marched beside him, loyal and determined, their quiet strength emanating from hearts driven not by hatred, but by a gentle longing for unity. Their progress was patient, measured, always mindful of lives softly bound to this sacred land. But the Hyksos rulers, though peaceful in daily rule, now rallied fiercely to defend their long-held power. Their stronghold, Avaris, stood resilient in the northern delta, walls rising gently but defiantly above fertile fields, rivers, and marshes. The city's fortifications had quietly grown formidable over generations, symbolizing Hyksos' strength and resilience. Thutmose, undaunted by this quiet challenge, moved to encircle Avaris. His forces gently cut off supply routes and carefully positioned boats along quiet waterways to blockade the city. With compassionate patience, he sought not violent devastation, but a steady weakening, a quiet erosion of Hyksos resistance, hoping to spare both Egyptians and foreigners alike from unnecessary suffering. Weeks passed softly into months beneath patient skies. Within Avaris, food supplies slowly dwindled and morale quietly faltered. Hyksos defenders watched anxiously from walls, whispering prayers to unfamiliar gods beneath stars that had guided their ancestors from distant lands. Thutmose's own soldiers waited patiently, hearts calm, beneath the quiet assurance of their pharaoh's gentle wisdom. Yet, even amidst siege, Thutmose maintained dignity and compassion. He offered peaceful surrender terms, softly communicated through emissaries, beneath banners gently fluttering in the wind. But the Hyksos rulers, pride quietly clouding their hearts, refused. Thus, gently but inevitably, Thutmose prepared his forces for the final assault. In the quiet hours before dawn, beneath the soft glow of moonlight, Egyptian forces moved forward. Chariots rolled silently across sands, archers softly took position, and foot soldiers advanced steadily toward the great walls. The city awoke quietly but swiftly, defenders rallying bravely in desperate resistance. The battle unfolded like a slow, powerful dance beneath skies, shifting gently from darkness to dawn. Bronze blades met in quiet clashes, Arrows flew silently beneath the fading stars, and the rumble of chariots rolled softly yet irresistibly across the battlefield. Thutmose himself led quietly yet courageously, his presence a gentle beacon of strength, inspiring his men onward. Slowly, inevitably, the Egyptian forces breached Avaris. Yet even in victory, Thutmose's gentle nature guided him. He commanded mercy for the defeated, offering compassion rather than cruelty, respect rather than revenge. The Hyksos rulers, defeated yet alive, were gently allowed safe passage, quietly exiled rather than harshly punished. Thutmose's quiet dignity transformed victory into restoration, conquest into reconciliation. The gentle dawn rose fully upon a land softly reborn. Thutmose stood atop the conquered walls of Avaris, quietly gazing out across the reclaimed land, now truly unified. Below him, Egyptian soldiers quietly tended to the wounded, offering gentle words of comfort even to former foes. Around him, the city slowly began to stir with life anew, hopeful yet humbled beneath the pharaoh's compassionate gaze. Thutmose had achieved not merely a military victory, but something far deeper, a quiet redemption of Egypt's soul. The Hyksos, though foreign and once feared, had become part of Egypt's story, gently integrated into history's soft tapestry. They departed not in bitterness, but in quiet acceptance, recognizing the wisdom and strength of the pharaoh who had conquered not with hate, but with compassion. Beneath skies gently painted with the colors of dawn, Thutmose stood quietly triumphant, yet humble. His heart held no arrogance, only quiet gratitude toward gods, ancestors, and the resilient people who had trusted him. The long night of division had ended, softly giving way to the gentle morning of unity. The war for liberation had quietly concluded. Egypt was whole again, softly ready to rebuild, heal, and grow beneath peaceful skies and gentle leadership. In this quiet triumph, the moon had fully risen, illuminating Egypt's gentle rebirth, guiding its people softly forward beneath the eternal stars. Chapter 5. The Aftermath, Reunification and Empire. As dawn gently embraced Egypt, softly painting the skies with hues of gold and rose, Thutmose stood quietly overlooking the fertile lands now united beneath a single peaceful throne. The gentle Nile drifted onward, its tranquil waters whispering promises of renewal, flowing gracefully toward horizons now illuminated by unity. Egypt, weary yet hopeful, softly awakened to the calm after years of quiet turmoil. In the serene aftermath of the victory at Avaris, Thutmose moved gently and purposefully to heal the land he had reclaimed. He turned first toward the sacred temples, whose quiet sanctuaries had grown dim during decades of neglect. Beneath his gentle guidance, priests returned softly to ancient rituals, burning incense and chanting prayers beneath the watchful eyes of gods whose quiet patience had never faltered. Across the land, craftsmen began gently restoring what had been quietly lost. Temples that had once stood in quiet ruin now echoed softly with chisels carving intricate stories into stone, each relief quietly recounting Egypt's tale of loss, patience, and renewal. Artists painted softly vibrant murals, capturing moments of daily life, scenes of battle, and portraits of Pharaoh Thutmose, his gentle face depicted with quiet strength, humility, and compassion. Yet Thutmose's quiet wisdom reached far beyond temples and art. Understanding that true unity required careful attention to the land and its people, he moved softly among towns and villages, quietly listening to his subjects' hopes and fears. Farmers, artisans, soldiers, and scribes, all were gently heard, their voices softly guiding the pharaoh's quiet decisions. Roads and canals were slowly rebuilt, irrigation gently restored, and fields softly flourished beneath golden sunlight, nourished by a pharaoh's quiet yet unyielding dedication. But Ahmose knew that Egypt's gentle rebirth required more than domestic restoration. Quietly but firmly, he expanded Egypt's borders, securing southern Nubia, its gold mines gently replenishing Egypt's wealth and stability. To the northeast, his armies quietly ventured into Sinai and the lands beyond, establishing peaceful outposts and gentle alliances, carefully ensuring that Egypt's heartland would remain secure beneath tranquil skies. At home in Thebes, the pharaoh's family quietly flourished. His queen, Ahmose Nefertari, stood softly beside him, her presence gentle yet profound, guiding religious life with grace and quiet wisdom. Together, beneath soft moonlit skies, they reflected quietly on the land they had helped to heal, understanding deeply the fragile beauty of peace and the quiet responsibility of rulership. Under their gentle guidance, Egypt's society slowly regained its rhythm. Festivals, once quietly diminished, returned to vibrant life, softly celebrating the cycles of the Nile, the harvest, and the eternal journey of the gods across starry heavens. Music drifted gently through temple halls and marketplaces, its soothing melodies carrying softly the restored spirit of a unified nation. And yet, beneath the gentle joys of restoration, Ahmose remained quietly mindful of lessons learned through years of struggle. He knew the quiet strength of humility, the gentle wisdom in patience, and the soft yet profound power of unity forged not by force alone, but by understanding and compassion. Thus, softly beneath serene skies, the foundations of Egypt's new kingdom were gently laid. Ahmose, quiet yet determined, carefully established a lasting legacy. His reign softly opened a golden age, a time of unprecedented prosperity, stability, and cultural flowering, guided gently by the values he embodied: balance, dignity, harmony, and quiet strength. As years drifted gently by, Egypt blossomed quietly yet profoundly. Generations softly remembered Ahmose not merely as a warrior pharaoh, but as a healer, a restorer, a king who had quietly reunited Egypt's fractured soul. His gentle legacy endured, quietly woven into Egypt's future, shaping the paths of great pharaohs yet to come. Hatshepsut's graceful diplomacy, Thutmose's bold expansion, and Ramses's majestic reign, all softly echoing Ahmose's quiet wisdom. Yet Ahmose himself remained humbly aware of his place in the gentle rhythm of history. Beneath starlit skies, in the quiet intimacy of his palace, he often reflected on the quiet beauty of the land he ruled, grateful for the resilience of his people, the gentle wisdom of the gods, and the peaceful yet powerful journey Egypt had undertaken. Thus, Egypt slowly reclaimed its timeless serenity, quietly unified beneath gentle skies, softly guided by a pharaoh whose quiet strength had forever reshaped its destiny. The Nile continued its eternal flow, softly witnessing the gentle renewal of a civilization once quietly fractured, now healed and reborn. In quiet dignity, Egypt moved forward, gently embracing a future illuminated softly by unity, guided quietly by the eternal rhythms of earth, sky, and river. And beneath gentle moonlight, the quiet dreams of Egypt softly blossomed into reality, peacefully ushering in an age of tranquil glory. Chapter 6: Legacy of the Hyksos Conflict. In the hush that follows resolution, when battle dust has long since settled and songs of victory fade gently into the wind, history begins to whisper its longer tale. The Hyksos were gone, their banners lowered, their cities quieted, their rule reduced to memory. But in Egypt, memory was not merely recollection. It was reverence, reflection, and sometimes quiet reimagination. The Hyksos, once strangers who had lived, ruled, and worshipped under Egyptian skies, left behind more than abandoned strongholds and echoing names. They left a legacy, complex, layered, quietly embedded within the very rebirth they had unwillingly helped bring about. To the Egyptians, the story became simple in time, softly reshaped into myth and warning. The Hyksos were invaders, bringers of chaos who had disrupted Ma'at, the divine balance. They were spoken of with caution and indignation, their foreignness gently magnified with each retelling. In temple inscriptions, carved long after their departure, they were cast as enemies of the gods, symbols of what happens when order slips into forgetfulness. And yet, truth always hums softly beneath the surface, for the Hyksos were not only disruptors, they were also contributors. In the quiet spaces between conquest and restoration, they had introduced tools, ideas, and technologies that Egypt would come to rely upon. Their chariots, once feared, became part of Egypt's military might. Their fortification techniques, once used to repel, were now employed to defend. Their trade networks, once foreign and unfamiliar, were now Egyptian paths to distant lands. In many ways, Egypt's golden new kingdom would not have shone so brightly had it not learned, adapted, and grown in response to the quiet Hyksos presence. It was as if their rule, uninvited though it was, had served as a mirror, showing Egypt not what it had lost, but what it must reclaim, refine, and ultimately transcend. Mosek understood this quietly. Though he expelled the Hyksos with determination, he absorbed their strengths with grace. His Egypt would not return to what once was. It would become something greater. In forging the future, he did not discard what the Hyksos had brought. He transformed it, softly folding foreign knowledge into the timeless fabric of Egyptian tradition. But the wound of foreign rule lingered. Egypt had been humbled, its divine lineage broken, if only briefly. That memory remained like a shadow beneath the golden light of renewal. It inspired later pharaohs to strengthen borders, expand dominions, and guard against foreign presence. Egypt, reborn and empowered, also became cautious and guarded, fiercely protective of its identity. From that legacy, a new nationalism quietly arose, one not born from arrogance, but from the silent pain of having once lost something precious. And in that legacy, the Hyksos lived on, not only in what they had left behind, but in what they had changed. Their brief chapter in Egypt's long story was not one of simple conquest, but of exchange, conflict, and evolution. They came as outsiders. They left as part of Egypt's living memory, their story softly woven into every chariot wheel, every bronze blade, every fortified wall that came after. In quiet libraries of future ages, scrolls would speak of Ahmose's triumph and Egypt's resurgence. In temple murals, the Hyksos would be shown fleeing, heads bowed, their gods forgotten. And yet, in the unspoken truth between lines and symbols, their influence would linger, quiet as moonlight, subtle as the shifting Nile. For even those who challenge us leave their imprint. Even those we resist help shape who we become. And so Egypt, land of river and sky, remembered not only the pain of the Hyksos years, but the quiet strength it had discovered in surviving them. It remembered that peace, once broken, must be gently guarded. That unity, once lost, must be patiently restored, that even from the presence of the foreign and unfamiliar, wisdom could be drawn, gently and without fear. And in that remembrance the Nile continued its eternal course, flowing softly through time, carrying stories not only of victory, but of transformation. And now, as the quiet sands of history settle once more beneath moonlit skies, the tale of Amuse and the Hyksos gently fades into the twilight of memory. The battles have passed, the cities have quieted, and the voices of those who ruled, resisted, and rebuilt now rest softly beneath the stars, their echoes carried only by wind, water, and time. Yet echoes they remain, for Egypt was never just a place, it was a rhythm, a gentle cycle of rising and falling, like the breathing of the Nile. And in that eternal rhythm, the story of the Hyksos conflict endures, not simply as a clash of rulers, but as a turning of the tide, a moment when what was broken began to heal, when what was divided found its path back to wholeness. Ahmose, the boy once born beneath quiet skies in the south, became more than a warrior king. He became a vessel of restoration. Through his calm strength and unshaken purpose, he gave Egypt back its voice, not in a roar, but in a steady, soothing song, the kind of song that lingers after the instruments fade, the kind that cradles a people as they rebuild. And Egypt, gently restored, did not return to what it once was. It became something new, richer, wiser, more deeply rooted. The golden age that followed was not a resurrection of the past, but a quiet blossoming of something entirely its own. An Egypt that had endured not only time, but change. Even now, when we gaze upon the weathered temples and silent tombs, we are not just seeing stones, we are hearing that ancient echo, the quiet reminder that nothing is truly lost, that even in times of division and doubt, something sacred endures, that every fall has within it the shape of its rising. And so, as you close your eyes and drift gently into stillness, know that this story, like the Nile, flows ever onward, from the distant past to the quiet present, from Ahmose to you. The stars still shine above the desert, the river still hums its ancient lullaby, and somewhere in the vast silence between then and now, the soft footsteps of Pharaohs still walk beside the water's edge. Let them guide you gently into rest. Sleep well and dream of Egypt.